G'day guys, back with the Outer Circle. Today I want to talk about the upcoming Black Legion release for the Vigilus campaign. New Chaos Space Marines. I like that. I like the new sculpts. In fact, the best thing about them is that they're not crazy over the top like some of the previous Chaos sculpts have been, except for that Harkan World Claimer. He's bad. Anyway, something is amiss despite the fact that I like all of these sculpts. I like them a lot, in fact. And I couldn't put my finger on it. So, you see, I posted a picture of the new Chaos Terminators. These guys down here. I posted a picture of them up on Facebook, and I noticed a trend in the comments. But they're not in Cataphracti. Now you see, I pondered this before clinging onto the problem. Because, I admit, I probably would have preferred them in Cataphracti armor or Tartarus armor, because it's, Heresy era armor. Now, is that to say that it's a bad thing? No. To be clear, what I'm not saying is that I dislike what they've done. Quite the opposite. This, on a model-per-model basis, is clearly the best Chaos release probably since the 3.5 Codex. No. The problem is that all of these new releases, they don't look like Legions. They look like Renegades. They don't look like the hardened Legion veterans of the Long War. Now, sure, some people may argue that, they're veterans, but they're just in new armor which they've scavenged. Okay, that's true. I can see that. But when many of the Marines have flesh melded with their armor thanks to warp exposure, I'm not sure exactly how they can exchange or change their armor too much. So what am I getting at? Well, it would be nice for Games Workshop to understand that Chaos players, by majority, prefer the Legions, not Renegades. Now, when I talk about Renegades here, I mean Renegade chapters. Renegades, say Imperial Guard, Militia, that kind of thing, is a different kettle of fish. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some people who definitely prefer forces like the Red Corsairs. They're out there. But they're not the force you're getting either here. It's sort of a horrible thing in the middle. You see, if you want to talk about casual or tournament players, the sculpts they get, they don't care about. They care about the performance on the tabletop. So the people that really matter here are those who want to craft a thematic army. And sadly, this isn't how Games Workshop sees Chaos. Apart from the big four, Khorne, Slaanesh, Nurgle, Tzeentch, Games Workshop sees Chaos as vanilla Space Marines. All they are is Space Marines but with gold trim and horns on their helmets, and that makes them evil, am I right? If Renegades are the flavour of the day, that they use Indomitus Terminator armor because that's what they had when they were loyal, okay, that's fine. But if you do that, you have to give them a full armory of a Renegade force. You see, to me, Chaos has always deserved two codexes. They should be the Legions and Demons, which is one codex, and the Renegades and Heretics, which should be another codex. How did I come to this conclusion? After playing Chaos Space Marines for 25 years, how did I come to this conclusion? Well, Renegades aren't the bitter, war-hardened veterans. They don't employ the demons. They're more of a dark reflection of the Loyalists, at times barely distinguishable. Stories like the Badab War demonstrate the slow slide to chaos expertly. The Renegade forces should combine aspects of Marines and Imperial Guard to represent the traitorous forces drawn together by their excommunication from the Imperium. Their armory should be similar to Loyalists, but they should mix in some of those chaos features, marks of the gods, having forces that aren't Marines in Marine armies, that sort of thing, to differentiate them from the Loyalists. Simple concept, right? Okay, now the Legions and Demons. In the old days of 40k, and I'm talking late 2nd, 3rd, 4th editions, the forces of Chaos lacked all of the war gear of the Loyalists. They didn't have whirlwinds, drop pods, land speeders, scouts, scout bikes, apothecaries, tech marines, thunderfire artillery, assault terminators. only the one bloody type of Land Raider, and all the good war gear at the time, like Thunderhammers, Storm Shields, Cyclone missiles. But to make up for it, they got demons. Troops they could summon to the battlefield, and powerful demon princes and greater demons. The problem is, where once power weapons and things that could hurt said greater demons were rare, now they're so common that greater demons have lost their teeth. Demons, currently in 8th edition 40k, are a horde army, but they don't have any of the bonuses of the other horde armies, Tyranids and Orcs specifically. You see, demons and legions complemented one another. The demons, especially the lesser ones, were these light, soft units, their numbers and weapons making up for their fragility. The legions, on the other hand, the marines, were the rock with power armor, ranged war gear, and they gave some sticking power to the force. The demon princes and the greater demons were the hammers of the force, and they could break any opposing headquarters unit in single combat. So when Games Workshop releases new Chaos Space Marines, Abaddon's own forces, they appear to once again be employing the "they're Renegades" theme. This is a shame, and frankly, allying in demons, picking veterans over stock Chaos Space Marines as troops, etc., it's the band-aid solution to the problem that's now 15 years old: the loss of the legions. Overall, I'm actually cautiously optimistic about the new Chaos. Nothing I've seen is bad. There are some more questionable choices now, like the autocannon sloppily slapped onto the Lord Discordant, which makes him look like a demon engine version of a technical. What's a technical, some might be asking? Well, it's when pirates and rebels in third world countries mount things like machine guns and recoilless rifles to standard civilian vehicles, usually in a really dodgy, haphazard way. Also, for me, the rider, he's way too busy, but that's easy to rectify, so it's not really an issue. What would I wish for? What would I do if it was me in charge? I'd do Heresy-era armors. Maybe not full sets like Thousand Sons or Death Guard, but perhaps a mix, a mashup of the older armors, instead of the standard Marine armors of 40k with gold trim slapped on. Same thing with the Terminator armor. Hint at the age of the Marines, at the archaic armor and weapons of the Heresy, rather than being another fucking codex of loyalists with less fucking options. Now, to add further to this point, when you look at these Space Marines, okay, Abaddon pulls in anyone to his forces. Let's talk on a thematic level here. Abaddon the Despoiler will use any Marines that he has at his disposal in order to win his fight. But that's all he's using currently. He's not using basic bitch humans. He's not using Renegade Guard forces. He's not using Renegade Mechanicum. None of this stuff exists in the game currently for Chaos. That's problematic for me, because it should exist for Chaos. On top of that, yes, he's going to have all these Renegade chapters he's pulled into his cause that serve him. Marines who were not there for the Long War. Yeah, there will be fewer veterans who actually were there that fought at the walls of the Emperor's Palace during the Siege of Terror. But they are there, and they're not represented. Instead, what we're seeing right now is just the most basic sub-form of Chaos. And that's a shame. What we should be getting here is another box, at least, to coincide with this one we've got right now, which I think we can all agree is beautiful. Is anyone going to say this is horrible looking? I'm definitely not. I think it's beautiful. But there should be a box alongside this available, which should be your chosen, your true veterans. Okay, something that represents the Legion's hardened troops from the Long War. One of the articles released, it talks about the Black Legion, who they are. And it shows Iron Warriors, Night Lords, Word Bearers, World Eaters, Emperor's Children, the Alpha Legion, and Renegades. Well, you see, here's the problem. Renegades are 1/8 of this force. 7 of the Traitor Legions are represented here. Nurgle and Zench's forces are the Thousand Sons and the Death Guard, respectively. Well, they're not being included for some reason, even though they definitely have troops as part of Abaddon's forces. On top of that, we don't have any true units to represent these Legion forces in battle, Because the thing that makes the Black Legion unique among all the traders is that, yes, he does have renegades working for him, but he has actual Legion troops from the other legions also at his disposal, and they bring their unique traits to his cause. So, Alpha Legion forces bringing infiltration and things like that to him. You have the Word Bearers who are bringing demon summoning specifically, as well as sort of in the campaign sense, being demagogues and converting worlds to the worship of chaos. World Eaters are bringing that hardened close combat edge to the Force. The Iron Warriors, siege breakers, and fortification experts, they're bringing that to the Black Legion Force, but we don't have anything to actually represent that well on the tabletop. Instead of sub-units that should work like the Shattered Legions perhaps in 30k, where you can pick individual units from different legions with all the relevant rules and add them to your force, we kind of lack that currently, because they've gone for the Black Legion first, which isn't a bad thing, but they haven't fleshed out these forces. Instead, the one that has the models and the focus is the Renegades, and you just have to use your imagination to fill in the rest, which is a shame. Anyway, overall, as I said, cautiously optimistic. And one last thing before we go. This model, which I really like, but it's a bit rich coming from Games Workshop to release the Stargate, especially when Games Workshop is so litigious, suing people for things like making pauldrons or dice with ultra symbols on them, which are a fucking letter from the Greek alphabet, Omega. Come on. You can't steal the Stargate and then turn around and sue people for things like shoulder pads and dice. It's just pathetic. See you all next time.